Hey guys, Mal here, and today we have to have a talk about tea in rust. I remember back when farming first dropped and I was covering it. So many people kept saying that it was stupid and pointless. I kept telling them that it was phase 1 and phase 2 would be where it gets good. Well, we've arrived at phase 2 and it came in the form of tea. Teas in rust may seem like an inefficient RP nonsense way of staying hydrated at first, however that is not the case. Depending on the tea you brew, you gain buffs. For example, a 200% buff when getting wood, or 6 scrap per barrel rather than 2. That caught your attention, didn't it? I know it caught mine when I first heard about it. So let's take a look at how this all works. You're going to need a basic farm and a mixing table. If you use the mixing table, you'll see a big old list of recipes. Each type of tea has 3 stages: basic, advanced, and pure. You'll need an assortment of berries to make the basic teas, which is where the farm comes in. Once you've made your basic teas, you use 4 of them to make the advanced teas, and then 4 advanced teas to make the pure tea. Now the bonuses that you receive from each tier of the teas varies from tea to tea. For example, the wooden scrap teas give you 50%, 100%, and 200%, whereas the ore tea gives you 20%, 35%, and 50%. To keep things simple, the better the tea you can produce, the better the results will be. To help put things into perspective, I drank a pure wood tea, grabbed a chainsaw, and went nuts for half an hour on a vanilla server. I managed to farm 158,000 wood. That's a lot of wood for half an hour's work. So now that we understand that tea is worthwhile, and we understand how to craft the tea, let's talk about the berries. The berries are an important part of the tea process. Having an efficient farm and good berries can double your growing speed and your yield. First things first, you're going to need to run around and find some starting berries. One of each color that you want works. Once you have them, head back to your farm. Now eat the berries that you got. We're after the seeds here and we don't care about the berries themselves at this point. This part is where we should go into about a 4-hour university style lecture about genetics and how to crossbreed them and all that. However, I found a much better way than trying to manipulate the genes. Instead, we're going to do what I like to call seed gambling. Now at bare minimum, you're going to need a planter and fresh water. You can either do up a fancy farm like mine, or you can just grab a blue jug and do it manually by standing over the planter, looking down and hitting right click. Grab your starter seeds, plant them in the planter and water it. They'll take about 10 minutes to hit a point where you can harvest them. Hold E and clone them. Alternatively, you can hold right click and it'll change from harvest to take clone, and then you just hit E. Replant your clones and repeat. Once your planter is full, take one more set of clones. This should ensure you have at least enough clones to replant twice now. Fill the planter and hold onto the spare clones for now. They're a backup in case we don't get what we want from the first batch. Let this new set of berries finish their grow cycle. They'll go through a bunch of stages like seeding, maturing, crossbreeding, fruiting, and such. After they finish the fruiting stage, they'll become ripe. You can pick them anytime during the ripe phase as it's done growing. If you miss it during that phase, it will begin dying and you'll lose the crop. It takes roughly 2 hours for a set of standard berries to grow. This will change depending on the genes you've got. So once they're ripe, we're going to gather them instead of cloning. The same as when we got our starter berries, we want to chow down on these as well to convert them to seeds. Yes, all of them. Start chewing. Now comes the gambling side of things. Grab something stabby like a bone knife and your pile of newly acquired seeds. Plant one in your planter and then check the genes on it. If it isn't good enough, give it a stab to get rid of it. Keep doing this until you get a genetic strain that looks good. Ideally, we want something like 4 Y genes and 2 G genes. That will increase the yield that we get both as clones and harvesting, and it speeds up the growth cycle. If you're living in the snow or desert, you may want to get a H gene or 2 in there, as that's hardiness, and it'll help the crop grow in extreme climates. Essentially, we're re-rolling the genes as they're randomly generated when you plant the seed. Avoid strains with the red W gene. That's increased water consumption, and it'll just make your life worse. Also, X genes are null genes. So they don't add any negatives, but they do take a gene slot that could have something better in it. If you live in the forest biomes and you get something like X, YYYGG, then roll with it. You'll rarely see a strain without an X or a H gene. Because you live in a biome that's great for growing, a H gene is pretty much the same as an X gene to you. Now earlier I referred to this method as gambling. That's because you might get absurdly lucky and your very first plant is perfect. Or it could take you 500 seeds. You never know because it's completely random. If you run out of seeds before you find a decent strain, plant your backup clones and repeat the process once they grow. You can also check out player shops around the map. I saved myself a lot of time and hassle by grabbing a yellow berry strain that way. You can also scale your farm up so you can speed up the genetics side of things. When we did our white berries most recently, we had 18 planters and 3 of us going ham trying to get a good one. Out of about 350 seeds, we got 2 really good strains. One was about 50 or so in, and the second was much closer to the end. Also, I gotta say, that's a lot of chewing sound effect when you scale it up to that kind of size. It'll take a bit of time initially to get the genes right and get everything rolling, but it's well and truly worth it. We make about 1 to 2k scrap a day passively from selling pure tea in our vending machines. You can also use the same methodology to grow heaps of food. Though be warned, food generally consumes more water and requires longer to grow. Once you've got your berries rolling, throw down a bunch of mixing tables. Cook up your tea and sell it for 100 scrap a pop in a vending machine. Make sure you make your vending machine accessible by drone to maximize your sales. Whenever you're running low on a seed type, just spend half an hour planting and cloning them. You can clone really early in the grow cycle, and because of the Y genes, you'll get 3 or 4 clones per plant. It doesn't take long to stock back up and get going again. That just about does it. Get out there and start a tea empire. Or at the very least, get some easy passive scrap rolling. Now that I'm properly back into Rust, if there's anything you'd like me to cover, leave a comment and let me know. I've also got a Discord where I can help too. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.